with great power comes great responsibility, and I don't think I'm ready to use that responsibly. We're going to leave that right there. What up, everyone? It's your boy Floz and welcome back to another episode of Tear Up. This time we are going to be ranking Supes from the Boys Part 2! Because there are literally so many goddamn Supes in that show. And at this point in time, I've just finished the entire series up to Season 5, Episode 6, because, again, at this moment in time, that's all that's been released. I don't know what's yet to come. I'm really excited, though. But for now, we're going to go ahead and rank some Supes that have mostly appeared through Seasons 1 and 2. And it's actually shocking how many Supes appear each season. Either way, let's get right into it. The rankings for this video are as follows. God Tier, The Boys, Oi, Circle 7, and Cancelled. Like I said in the last one, you can't have a Boys tier list without having Oi be one of the goddamn tiers. You simply can't. First up here we have Blind Spot. He is a blind superhero. I believe his actual powers come from like advanced super hearing. I'm assuming he was blind to start out. And then from that blindness, his hearing was already heightened, but then the Compound V made his hearing even stronger, able to sense every little thing, from the cadence of someone's voice to a raindrop on the other side of the world. Probably. He's kind of like this superhero universe's younger version of Daredevil. Or he would have been if Homelander didn't clap his ears, essentially rupturing his eardrums and pretty much killing him. Yeah. This is going to include a good number of spoilers, so if you don't want any spoilers, click off now and go watch the damn show. On Amazon Prime, not sponsored by the way. They really should sponsor me. But either way, with heightened super hearing ability, plus his very skilled martial arts, I'm going to put him mid and Oi. Because there are definitely some other powers that are like much more amazing. At the same time, there are some that aren't as good. Next up, we have Cindy. She is fucking horrifying. She was a mental patient at a hospital, which was later used to test Compound V on adults, trying to create a far more stable compound. She eventually escaped, and after Season 2, we didn't really see her. But then she reappeared at the very end of Season 4 and a bit throughout Season 5. Point is, her powers involve, like, telekinetic crushing. Imagine crushing, like, a soda can beneath your foot or, like, within your hands. She can do that with her mind on a great multitude of everything. So in other words, you don't want to piss her off because you will die in an instant. And, like, of all the powers to have, that is a terrifyingly godlike power, especially in the hands of someone as unstable as she. So I'm going to go ahead and, for the fear of my own life, put her up in God tier. Because I'd rather not die. Next up we have Doppelganger. Doppelganger's ability is he can shapeshift into anyone he chooses. And mostly throughout Season 2, he shapeshifts into Madeline Stillwell to satisfy Homelander's motherly needs. I can't even word it without being disgusted by it. I mean, his abilities are definitely good for like trickery and manipulation and everything like that. Because you think you could be talking to a very close, trusted friend and ally, but really it's this fuck. So it could be a good power, just not very useful in my opinion. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and put Doppelganger. Actually, I put him in the middle with Oi. Because it's a decent power when used in the right situation. Could be good. Otherwise, meh. Next up, we have Eagle the Archer. Now, this guy, I'm not 100% sure if he even has powers through Compound V. He might, and I just have to read up a bit more on it. But either way, from my perspective, he's literally just an archer, like this world's version of the Green Arrow or Hawkeye. He belonged to the Church of the Collective and recruited deep into said church, but was then outcasted by the church for don't know. I don't remember completely. Point is, in a world with Supes like this, being an archer is not going to be enough. Plus, honestly, throughout the entire show, he wasn't exactly a memorable character. So I think I might have to put him down and canceled. I'm sorry. Don't get me wrong. I love the Arrow, like the CW Arrow specifically. But in this kind of universe, it's not going to be as good. Next up, we have Ezekiel, the man who spouts out the God's Christian word, specifically the Christian nationalist variety, distorting it to further their own agenda. But that's a whole rabbit hole we're not even going to go down. Ezekiel's powers evolve in extending. He's very stretchy. Like, he can extend and stretch himself to lengths and widths that only one could dream of. And here's the thing. He spouts all this about being a proper Christian and marriages between one man and one woman. Meanwhile, this motherfucker is secretly at a superhero nightclub smooching on other soup dudes. He's a hypocrite! But the powers themselves, those powers could be really good. But as seen in a later season, when he was hit with a fire extinguisher, which I think has some compound that freezes, I don't know the chemical bullshit. It essentially freezes the elasticity of his body and able to essentially chop off that part of him. So it's a good power, but in extreme cold, it does not perform well. So don't get me wrong, it's a good power, but with that weakness, plus him being a horrific hypocrite, I think I have to knock him down a few notches and put him in Circle 7. It was initially going to be canceled for him trying to push his extreme agenda, but the power itself brought him back up a little bit. Next up, we have Gecko. Now, this motherfucker. His powers are similar to those of Kimiko, where he has extreme regenerative abilities. I don't know what the proper word is. But how does he choose to use his powers? By being I believe it was worded as an S&M hooker. But no, he does not get paid for sex. He gets paid for people to chop off parts of his body, because again, he can just grow it back instantaneously. And he only charged $100 to chop off his own Johnson? Oh, hell no! I wouldn't do it for even $1,000,000! But to be fair, if I knew that it would grow back, I wouldn't even do it for $1,000,000! Unless it grows back bigger and better! Okay, we're gonna stop there. Again, it's a decent power for trying to survive, but at the same time, not really useful in a combative situation. Plus, with the kind of guy Gecko is, I think I just have to put him down and canceled. He just wasted his power. I mean, financially he did pretty good, but overall he just wasted his power. Next up, we have Kenji. This is Kimiko's brother, who was also captured and input into the Shining Light terrorist organization. And he then became a little radicalized. His powers involve telekinetics. It took me a little bit to remember exactly what his power is. I don't know if he can only specifically telekinetic, like, metal things? I know he's able to lift and move extremely large things, where he was able to lift a cargo ship out of the bay and crush a dude with it. That is some immense power. However, he needs his hands in order to do it. And at some point in Season 2, Stormfront kind of broke his hands, and he wasn't able to do nothing. So it's a good power, but heavy reliance on the hands. If it was just mentally, then it could be a bit better. And just because it's Kenji, I want to put him up in the boys. Again, it would have been God tier if he didn't rely so much on his hands. I say that and I put Cindy up in God tier, who also relies heavily on her hands. Maybe Cindy's menacing factor kind of bumps her up a little bit. But either way, we're getting off topic. Next up, we have Lamplighter, who was one of the original members of the Seven, but was, I'm assuming, asked to leave after an incident where he kinda burned some children alive when he was trying to kill Grace Mallory because she had some blackmail information on him. But either way, his powers involve fire manipulation. And one of the really funny thing is, this actor and or his twin, because I know he's a twin, I know one of them was actually in the X-Men and he was the ice dude. He was the fucking Iceman. So the fact that they made him Lamplighter and this is actually perfect. And I love it. But actually, much like Pyro from the X-Men, Lamplighter cannot create fire, he can only manipulate and control it. And after that incident with Grace Mallory's family, he was, I'm assuming, again, told to leave the Seven, and thus was sent to work in the mental hospital asylum place where Cindy resided at, as a means to get rid of the evidence. Essentially meaning, burn some motherfuckers. But either way, that is a great power. But like, Lamplighter wanted nothing more than to make his dad proud and to be a hero. He failed at doing so, so when Huey and he tried to make an attempt to rescue Starlight from the Seven Tower, they instead went up to the big like board meeting room so Lamplighter could burn himself in front of his statue, which was no longer there. So instead he just burned himself in front of Huey. Again, spoilers! If you don't want no spoilers, don't watch this and watch the damn show! But again, great powers somewhat redeemed himself in the end, just like a tiny little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and put him up in God tier. Because you know what? I'd want his powers. Next up, we have the greatest soup ever introduced. Laser Baby! Laser Baby number 1! Laser Baby was discovered when I believe Butcher and Mother's Milk, or MM, made their way into a hospital where they learned that babies were getting pumped up with compound V, and that's how soups are created. They find this one baby who is able to shoot lasers out of its eyes, and they use that baby to kill Vought agents that were after them. And oh my god, look at Laser Baby, he's so adorable! Oh, I'm fine if he lasers my eyes out. Laser Baby number 1! So you know what? Laser Baby go to number 1. Laser Baby got here! Now this fucking freak. Also introduced from the mental asylum or wherever it was, we have Love Sausage. And like the name suggests, he has full autonomy and control of his love sausage. And I don't mean he could just make it ding on command, which you probably could. It pretty much turns into this giant, and I mean giant, long-ass limb, which he uses to beat his victims into submission. And like, I'd even go as far to say that he was one of MM's main nemeses. I mean, it's a power that some men would want to have. But you know what? I'm fine being average. So you know what? I'm going to put this guy down and canceled. Because with great power comes great responsibility, and I don't think I'm ready to use that responsibly. We're going to leave that right there. Next up, we have Mesmer. Mesmer's main abilities involve like mind reading, but he can only do it through physical contact. Like Mesmer is like how they learned about Kimiko, her past, everything. And on top of that, he was a child star in the Boys cinematic universe, where he was essentially in that universe's equivalent of like Law and Order SVU. Like he would just grab hold of a suspect and he'd be like, "This man's the rapist." But they would never use those powers in real life, because they can't make money off of that. So much for justice if there's no money involved. But again, in my opinion, the ability to read someone's mind through physical touch, that's an insane power. He, however, does not have great durability, because Butcher just bashed his skull into a bathroom sink over and over again till he died. So great power, not great durability. Overall, I'm willing to put him up in the Boys. Because I would love to read people's minds, because I don't like guessing. Next up, we have Nakib. Now, Nakib is one of the terrorists that Homelander went around the world and V'd up. And he's one of the few that the power actually took. His power is he can essentially turn himself into a fucking bomb and walk away from it to do it again. And I believe he had a phrase that he would say every time before he blew up. And no, it's not the phrase that you're automatically thinking. I think it was something along the lines of burn for the truth. Something like that. But we didn't get to see much of that power because Black Noir was sent to off him. And even though he can, again, turn himself into a fucking bomb, blow up a building essentially, and walk away scot-free, he could do that with Black Noir standing maybe 10 feet in front of him, and Black Noir looks like nothing happened. And then Black Noir cut off his head. But the power itself, I might just put that up in the boys. Because that is a destructive level of power. Next up we have Pop Claw. Pop Claw, as the name suggests, she can shoot out like curved claws from her, I'm just going to call this her wrist. Toward the beginning, she was A-Train's girlfriend, even back in Teenage Kicks, which was like a smaller superhero group, if you will. That also goes through a lot of members. Her abilities, again, mainly include like claws that can pop out of her wrist, incredible strength. And when I say incredible strength, you have no idea, because let's just say she had a little trouble with her landlord, who was a big Pop Claw fan. And there were just issues with like the rent and everything. So they did a little role play where he was a criminal and Pop Claw was being all sexy and everything. And eventually he sat on his face. He did his whole thing. Pop Claw got a little too excited and kind of literally crushed his head in. I mean, if there's any way to go, it'd be like that. You die doing what you love. And I mean, they're decent combative powers, I will say that. I think given her limited abilities, I'm going to put her up in Oi. Along with Doppelganger and Blind Spot. A lot of the ones in the Boys and Gotcha are a good bit better than hers. Speaking of which, next up we have Ryan Butcher. This child is terrifying. I believe he's also the first natural-born Supe, meaning from birth he wasn't dosed up with Compound V. The way he came into existence, however, was very unfortunate. Whereas Homelander assaulted his mom, Butcher's wife, and she went into hiding through Vought's help, and was able to raise Ryan good until Homelander fucking found them. And Ryan's powers are so strong, he was nearly able to kill Stormfront. Stormfront! One of the first people to be dosed up with Compound V. The original Compound V. Which again, essentially gave her immortality. If his powers are strong enough to do that, he can be more terrifying than Cindy! Enough is said. I need to put Ryan up in God tier. There's no other place to put him! And lastly, we have Shockwave. Shockwave, like A-Train, is a speedster. They even had a race. And I'm assuming whoever won the race was going to be in the 7. A-Train only won that because he dosed himself up on Compound V. Which means Shockwave is a very, very fast Supe. I don't know if there are any significant differences between his powers and A-Train's. And we're probably not going to find out because he got offed. But again, being a speedster is great power to have. So I'm trying to contemplate where I want to put him. You know what? Definitely not A-Train level in God tier. But still good enough that I'll go ahead and put him in the boys. Because, I mean, speedsters, amazing powers all around. And I think this is where we're going to leave it off. Well, I'm Floz MG. This has been Tier Up ranking Supes from the Boys Part 2. And I can't wait to see you all in the next video. Bye!